Hello and welcome back to our Godey's Ladies Book Review 1861 Part 2. Last time, we were looking at the beginning of this book. We were looking at January through June of Godey's Ladies Books issues. And today, we are going to be looking at July through December of Godey's Ladies Book 1861. I am Maria of Historical Belle, and I would love to welcome you to this video. If you are here after watching part 1, welcome back. Thank you so much for following along on this journey. And if you have not seen part 1 yet, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that if you are enjoying this so far, because I go into a lot of historical detail that I'm not going to cover again in this video. What we're looking at right here is a broad line drawing course or examples, and here we have some lovely hats, or caps I should say, novelties for July. These bottom two caps here have what are known as lappets. That's that decorative part that is hanging down from the crown part of the cap. And a lappet is a decorative flap, fold, or hanging part of a headdress or garment. So you can see that example of it here, which were very popular in the mid-1800s. On this page, we have even some more novelties for July. Lots of different accessories, embroideries, braids, ideas for trimming. And here we have a lovely cape. Wow, this is a lot going on right here. It has bows hanging all the way around. I love how it hangs off of the arms right there. And this is interesting. It actually has a pattern, which we have not seen yet, but an actual a pattern that you can trace or enlarge and try to figure out and how to make. That would be really cool. Maybe I'll have to make one, since I do indeed have a pattern for it right there. I also really like that embroidery on the bottom. And here we have a nightdress, which has a lot of tucks and folds here. It has this all down the front. Very decorative and very nice. Ooh, I love that shirt. More tucks and folds and all that fun pleatiness things. Love how big those sleeves are. Big poofy sleeves. And those were really popular in the 1860s because an hourglass shape was very popular. And if you have giant sleeves, it makes your waist look tiny. All about those optical illusions. And here is some really pretty embroidery for a collar or a cuff. Another interesting thing that Godey's Lady Book has is literary notices. So it has, when it announces when a book was published. So here we have books by mail. So I guess you can get the books by mail, or it's a book called Books by Mail. And then here we have some more book titles: After Icebergs with a Painter, and Hopes and Dreams. And here we have the Health Department, which is also interesting. Under the Health Department, we have a cure for the sore throat of children. It says this disorder consists of an inflammation of the mucous membrane lining of the throat in the back part of the cavity of the mouth, and is one of the most common afflictions of children, and it is generally caused by exposure to cold, and particularly by want of proper protection of the neck, feet, and arms. Okay. And the symptoms of the sore throat are redness of the membrane lining of the throat with pain, difficulty in swallowing. Yep. But what it says you should do is this treatment should consist of rest in bed or within doors, low diet, a warm bath, and a gentle purge with Epsom salts and warm applications until on your throat until the your skin turns red. I don't know how that's gonna help. Mid-1800s health stuff is an interesting time because you're on the verge of germ theory. So that and nursing is just really taking a leap because of Florence Nightingale. So this is it's an interesting time for health. Here we have a drawing or an illustration of a child's dress, I do believe. Or I think that could be a ball gown. Actually, I think that's for a grown woman since it's all the way to the ground. And ooh, some more architecture. Love some historical architecture. I think it's so fun how they have building plans in here with floor plans and everything. So here is a cottage in the Revival Gothic style, which you can really, this is some very Gothic. Gothic is, at least Gothic Revival, you can always tell by how steep the roof is. And this is a very, very steep pointed roof. Very Gothic Revival. And then we have some interesting floor plans here. It seems like you enter, so we have the principal floor and then we have the second floor. And the principal floor, it looks like you enter into G, and then you have the stair hall or the stairway in A with 2 rooms to the side, and then you have a room in the back D with 2 smaller rooms E and F. And then the upper plan looks almost just like that, except it looks like you have a bedroom and a closet as well. And this is very interesting because it's a very narrow floor plan. It's a kind of a side hall. You have a side hall with 2 rooms. So I think that's very interesting, especially for a country cottage. Usually longer and narrow buildings are seen in cities and not out in the country. So here we have some interesting articles. The center table gossip, which is about choosing glass and chinaware. Guess, you know, they had gossip columns back in the 1860s too. And here is an interesting article about chemistry for the young, which sounds like it could end in an explosion very easily. Here we have the fashion column. So a lot of times when you see pictures as I'm going through and flipping through here, there's not a very long description on all of them. Usually it'll say, see this page, this fashion column here, and then it gives a more detailed description, because most of them have very detailed descriptions either in this column or on the page. Since there is no color or color printing, it lists out what type of fabric it is, what colors it recommends you make it in, and it's very, very descriptive, which I think is really cool. And here we have some more music. I think this is the one, usually they're written for pianoforte, but I think this one is actually written for the guitar. Yep, this one is actually written for the guitar, which is the only one in this book that is written for the guitar, accompanied by the pianoforte and not just the pianoforte. And here we have some lovely dresses. I really like the striped one here and the bodice. It has a very lovely bodice and pagoda sleeves, which are my favorite. And then this one, the Charlotte, I also think it's fun they have these names on them. The Charlotte has a very beautiful, I want to call that a Swiss bodice. I'm pretty sure that's a Swiss bodice there, and it's quite lovely as well. Here we have more capes. Seems like capes are a favorite fashion accessory of Godey's Ladies book, as they give a lot of details about these capes. And they just show a lot of capes, even in July and in the summer months. So I guess, you have your winter capes, you have your summer capes, different fabrics and different weights out of those as well. Here we have some lovely embroidery patterns. So the embroidery pattern on the right there is actually for a child's shoe, which is super cool. Or a child's slipper, I should say. It's not a leather sole, I do not believe. More fabric based. So this is a really interesting article here. It is at the start of the month of August issue, and it is about how to make a cup of coffee. So if you want to make a cup of coffee the Victorian way, this will tell you how to do it. Right now I'm flipping through some stories and poems right there, which I just pointed to as a poem that Godey's Lady book has. They have a lot of stories, they have a lot of different poems. Most of the stories come out in it's like a chapter per magazine, which is really interesting. And so you keep up with the series, so you want to get the next magazine. Of course, this is Godey's Lady's book was sold on a subscription basis, and it was actually pretty expensive for the time. Ooh, and here we have some more pretties. We have a chemisette. We have a lovely, what do you call it? Bonnet, of course. You have a lovely bonnet. And then we have this exquisite bodice. Is that a bodice or a jacket? Let us see. Alright, so I had to look this one up, folks, because Godey's Lady books classified it as a pardessus, Pardessus, which, upon doing some internet research, and thank you to thedreamstress.com in her blog post, she has told us what it is, and it is an unglamorously enough, it just means it's an overcoat from the French word passed over. So it is an overcoat. And here we have another coat. This one looks like a very much keep you warm coat. There we have a snood that I am pointing to. So that's very, very interesting. And then we have some embroidery. We have some different types of chemise there. A little cap, little fishy looking thing. It's very lovely. And some undersleeves as well. That's really cool. On the left page here we have a pattern for knitted braces, and then on the right we have some more patterns. Ooh, I like this one. On the left, bottom left right here, it is a very nice long night dress for a lady, and here we have how to crochet a carriage pillow. And it tells you all how to do that. Very detailed instructions, tells you what colors that you should use and everything. It should be green, by the way. Ooh, we're getting into so many more crochet patterns. So here is how to crochet a child's bib. How awesome is that? I don't know how to knit, but I do know how to crochet. So we might be seeing some projects like this. You know, thinking about it right now, no, I have not. I have not ever done a crochet video on this YouTube channel before. So if you would be interested in that, since I normally just do sewing things, let me know. Let me know if you'd be interested in a crochet video. Especially as we're heading into fall and winter and those cooler months where I always think of crocheted and knitted items more in the fall and winter. They tend to lend themselves better to that season. And yay! Oh, look! We have another, is that another Gothic cottage? It does look like another Gothic cottage. So this says group of 4 cottage. Interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a Gothic cottage. Also has some bracketed style as well. This is a very interesting cottage, as it is a... Oh, I guess this is why it says group of 4, doesn't it? It has 1, 4. Oh, that is such an interesting floor plan. Oh wow. I don't even know how to go into that. That's quite the floor plan. And then we have another article about chemistry for the young. And ooh, this is a really interesting drawing that we have right here. It's called The Widow's Mite. It's a biblical scene, but they're all in what seems to be different eras of clothing. We have a lady in Georgian, the girl's in a more Georgian style outfit, and the woman there, she looks more Tudor with that almost English hood on, which is really quite interesting. It's a really interesting kind of time travel family. And then here we have some children's fashions for little boys and little girls. As we discussed a little bit in the last video, a lot of little boys until the ages of 5 or 7, it depended on the family, there was no exact age, would wear dresses, or they would wear basically a more of a longish tunic with pants under it, and then they would officially have a breeching ceremony. I mean, some families would. I think some families would just be like, and here are pants. But it's just an interesting cultural concept. Ooh. I love the trim on that jacket there on the left. That's lovely. Really love that. I really want to make myself a giant coat to go over one of my costumes like this, but I feel like I need an event to wear it to before I can justify that, because it's not cold here at all. So I need to have a trip planned where I will go north and into colder weather that will justify a coat like that. Here we have some more decorative aprons. Someone commented about why would you have an apron if it's just decorative? You know, fashion. Fashion is an interesting beast. If you want to look like you work, but you don't actually work, get a decorative apron. That doesn't, it's just too much. Here is a really interesting neckline on a chemise. This is a really, really interesting neckline. It's very circular. Most people's shoulders don't look like that, I don't think. So it stands up, and I feel like you can probably definitely see that under some necklines, like a ball gown bodice. You could definitely see that under. Of course, depending on the neckline of the ball gown bodice. I just don't think that would work well for me. Here we have another broadline drawing lesson, and this is a donkey. I feel like there's a lot of donkeys in Godey's Lady's book. It's such a strange animal to just keep reoccurring. Like, you know, not a dog, not a cat, no, a donkey. Ooh, this is really interesting. Another part 2 of the broadline drawing lesson is this interesting boat that looks like it has shipwrecked upon an island. I'm not really a good drawer. I'm not that talented with a pencil or paints. So I wonder if these could help me. Maybe I should do a video on that. See if Godey's Lady's book can teach me how to draw well. So here we have, usually they just have plays. Usually they just have stories in Godey's Lady's book, but this one is actually a play. And it looks like scene 1 there. It's called Love. And I just thought this was really interesting. And it reminds me a lot of Little Women, where Jo and Beth and Meg and Amy are up in their attic performing plays. And I can see it so in my head so clearly, is of them, you know, getting this Godey's Lady's book, and it has a play in it, and now they want to put it on. On this page we have one of those lovely overcoats again, which is so nice. It actually has a pretty high collar. And then we have another, I'm not even sure, because it's not a circlet, because circlets usually are made out of metal, but I feel like this could also classify as circlet, because it is a circle. So that's what I'm going to call it. Here we have a lot of very lovely things. Some caps, some undersleeves, some chemisettes. Oh wow. Oh wow, that's quite the lamp there. It is called a tulip lamp because the shade on it looks like a tulip. And then it has the hurricane lamp poking out of the middle. I think that's an oil lamp. Gas lamps were a thing at this point in time for the very wealthy, so it also could be that. We have a lovely coat. We have a small ridicule purse. And then we have this pen wipe that is in the shape of a boot, which is very decorative. And then we have this really interesting crocheted bib. It is very circular, very different shape than the last child's crocheted bib that we have seen. I feel like this is really going to cover your child and make sure they do not get any mess on themselves. On this page, we have a very lovely necktie with a bow, which is very popular for younger fashionable ladies at this time period. Now this, it kind of looks like a basket almost, but it's actually a pocket, an outside pocket for you to make for your pocket watch that you would then attached to the waistline of your outfit, and then you could put your pocket watch in there, which is, it's very decorative and very lovely. And then we also have a nightgown on the next page. Godey's Ladies book also had a lot of different recipes in it, so here is a bunch of different recipes. And it is a recipe for macaroni and cheese. Oh, that looks yummy. Such good stuff. Such good stuff. It's good to know that they had macaroni and cheese back in 1861. So this recipe says, wash 6 ounces of macaroni, put it in plenty of boiling water and a good deal of salt, and then first let it boil half an hour, drain it in a colander, and then grate a 1/4 pound of rich cheese into it. Wow, so if you want to read the rest of it, hit pause and then you can read it, because we are going to continue flipping through. Ooh, one of my favorite things again, historical architecture with a whole awesome floor plan. Love these. So this says that it is a suburban villa. Now, if I was going to give this a historical architectural style, right now I'm looking at it, all of these arches and the stone scream Romanesque to me. But this is from 1861. So the person who really popularized Romanesque style architecture would be Richardson, Henry Hobson Richardson. And he did not really popularize this until he built Trinity Church in the 1870s. So it is just going to be Romanesque revival architecture. Romanesque revival is also sometimes referred to as the Norman style or the Lombard style, particularly in works published during the 19th century. I really like the back of this coat right here because you can see it's fitted, but it also has that cloak-like feel in the front with those sleeves. It's lovely, and also I love the piping on it where it's very distinct. That's really, really cool. And I love this girl and this lady's outfit right here. I really like the braiding on the girl's outfit, and I really think that the other lady right there who is sitting has a very interesting top, as it has a little bit of a peplum on the bottom. Again, this is an incredibly decorative apron, especially the bottom one here. Wow. That's really pretty. It has like 3 parts and ruffles, so many ruffles. That's really quite nice. And then I really like, I'm going to call it a circlet again, but it's not, I don't know, I don't think it's a circlet. It looks almost more like a crown, especially since how it comes to a point there in the center. Headpieces, they are definitely headpieces. I would call these almost ball gown headpieces. I'm sure you could also wear this to a very fancy dinner party, or out perhaps to the opera, or a very fancy theater, which are very much quite lovely. Maybe I should make one for my ball gown. Another thing I just love looking through all of these and thinking I should make this, because almost everything that I see when I come through here, I think I should make this. But then I only have so much time and so much money. Here we have a drawstring work bag. Now that is quite a lovely work bag. I like the stars and the sun pattern that it has. It almost looks like an upside down lampshade with a drawstring top. I have no idea how big this is because it doesn't give any dimensions necessarily, but I think that's a really interesting concept. It also kind of looks like a vase a little bit. Now this is lovely as well. I love the embroidery pattern on it. It says it is for baby. Its heading says that it is a velvet sachet. Now we are starting the month of October. So this is the October edition of the Godey's Ladies book, and the first article is about spices, nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon. I really love learning about herbs and spices and their uses in cooking as well as medicinal practices. I think it's super cool, and I really like all of these illustrations that they have of the different plants. I was going through it and it was really talking more about the plants in a horticultural sense, not necessarily in a cooking or medicinal sense. So a little disappointing for myself personally, since I was hoping it would give some medicinal recipes, but I guess I should go find the health department section and see if it has any medicinal recipes in there. I'm sure it does. But I still thought it was very interesting to go through and read about it and these spices in a horticultural sense, and then also the drawings are really cool. And now I found it. The advice column, where Godey's gives you good advice. I don't know exactly how good of advice this good advice is. It seems like it was more about the home and such. But, yeah. A little bit different than advice columns today, but also very similar. Now, another thing I really love is weddings. I love weddings so much. I love learning about the history of weddings. I love learning about different cultures' weddings. And it's just such a large community thing for everyone. So they had a article about a Turkish wedding by a lady, which is what most ladies would go by if they wanted to remain anonymous, which was polite to do so. And it was really interesting to read about it from her perspective. It was very much her biased perspective on this different culture's wedding. But I thought it showed a lot about her her own biases in English culture, as well as the differences in what we consider traditional Western weddings and their culture's weddings. Of course, some more pretties, more headpieces, bonnets, and capes. Here we have a lovely dress. I really like all that trim on it. It's quite fantastic, all those ruffles. And then it looks like we have a little boy who's playing with a hoop, which would have been a fun toy through American colonial times up through Victorian times. Ooh, some unmentionables, some foundation garments, some pantalettes. There you can see a very nice drawings of pantalette. You can see they have split crotches, and that is how you would go to the bathroom back in the olden days. I like how they show the difference in the waistbands here. We have more of a pointed waistband that ties in the back, and then a very even waistband that I believe buttons in the back, and then it also has different levels of trimming on the pant legs as well. Here on the left, we have another pocket for your pocket watch, which I think they're quite lovely and very decorative. This is an interesting shape, a little bit different than the last one. And then, of course, we have another cottage on the right side. But here we have, it says in the children's department, it is a pocket for your pocket watch, and it has very much a very lovely diagram. It shows you just how to make it. And here we have the architectural plans for, or at least the floor plans for, a rural cottage. Now here we see some really nice caps, some very, very highly decorative caps, lots of ribbons, lots of ruffles, ribbon hanging off of it, ribbon in bows, we have some lace, and caps would have been more of a daytime accessory, and they were also more popular with the older age group. Younger women didn't like to wear them as much as older women did. Bonnets were popular among a very wide variety of age groups, and here we have some lovely spoon bonnets because the front of it kind of looks like a spoon in shape. And again, very highly decorative, ribbons everywhere, feathers, some Do I see, is that a rosette? Some bows, lace. There's always a little bit of a curtain on the bottom back of these. This is also lovely. I really love my bonnet that I got. It very much looks like this, my green bonnet, and I really think it completes my mid-Victorian ensembles. Ooh, this one looks a lot like one that Lady Liberty during this time period is portrayed as wearing. It looks very, very similar to this headpiece, and it's quite lovely. Again, I want one. I'll make one at some point, maybe. So now we're into November. So this first article is called What Ladies Have Done for Maritime Discovery, and it goes on to talk about Queen Isabel and her role in sending Christopher Columbus on his mission to the Americas. Here's another really interesting thing. These are slate drawings on the left page here, which is children were usually expected to have slates for school or small little chalkboards, personal chalkboards. And here are just ideas of things for your kid to draw on their slate. And some more goodies. I believe on the right here, we have a Sontag, and I love Sontags. I actually crocheted myself one once upon a time that you can see on my Instagram page there, which is linked at the top of my page, as well as I will put a link in the description. Here on the left, it might look like a bonnet, but it is actually a winter hood, and that means it's still a head covering, but it is made out of either knitted or crocheted material. And I have one of these, and you can see it in my video about Victorian winter accessories. And here we have another very interesting neckline to a chemise. It's very square. Now we're getting into the Christmas edition of Godey's, and on the right here we have a wonderful depiction of a Christmas tree. And the Christmas tree really was not popularized outside of Germany until Queen Victoria and her husband Prince Albert decorated a Christmas tree in their home, and it was published in publications like Godey's and other fashion magazines throughout Great Britain and the United States, and then it became a very widespread tradition in those places, in Britain and in the United States. As we see here in 1861, there is a depiction of a lot of children gathered around this tiny Christmas tree. And another interesting thing is this is how most Christmas trees in 1861 looked. They were up on a table, they were much tinier. We would consider this a mini Christmas tree today. They would be decorated with things like fruits and nuts. Sometimes the presents would be stuck up in the tree, and they would have candles, which just seems like a fire hazard nightmare. This skirt has so much going on. It has a lot of, it's almost like quilted in a diamond pattern, and then it has embroidery down upon the bottom. It's quite lovely. It's quite lovely. Here are some bonnets. We have some more spoon bonnets, again, so lovely trimmed. We have the Maria, which is this lovely christening gown. I always love christening gowns. I love the very traditional christening gown. I was actually christened or baptized very much in a gown that looked just like that, and it was made by my great aunt Marie, who I'm actually named after. So it was very, very special. All right, you wonderful folks who have made it this far, we are about to start the December issue of Godey's Ladies Book Magazine 1861. We have made it. And this issue starts off with part 2 of what ladies have done for maritime discovery, and it talks about Queen Elizabeth sending out Sir Walter Raleigh on his explorations. Alright, this is one of my favorite pages because it talks about wedding fashion. Right here we have what is a bridesmaid's headpiece that actually has a veil with it. Usually nowadays we only think of the bride as having a veil, but back in 1861 it was fashionable for your bridesmaids to also have a veil. And this kind of goes back to the idea that your bridesmaids are to distract evil spirits from the actual bride, and that's why the bride, she's the one who has a veil over her face, but the bridesmaids do not, but they still have veils. But they're basically like decoy brides to confuse the evil spirits. At least that is one of the reasons for bridesmaids. I actually like all of these December fashions. I love that shirt or that blouse that has very interesting ruching up there at the top. These jackets down below are also very nice. I love all the braid on them. Oh, look, we can learn how to make a sock. So here, Godey's Ladies Book is giving us instructions on how to knit a baby sock. How cute is that? I don't know how to knit, so that is not something I will be making. Nor do I have any babies in my life. Here we have some more really pretty decorative aprons with some more embroidery, a headpiece, what looks to be a pencil bag of sorts. Ooh, and a pretty rosette. Gotta love rosettes. Now that is a lot of embroidery. It is a billows-shaped pincushion, which is an incredibly fancy pincushion. Mine looks like a tomato. And then on the other side there, we have a prayer book marker, and that is all made out of paper, or so it says, which is really cool and interesting. And it shows you how to make it and how that happens. So I think that's really cool. I believe that is the first bookmark we have seen in Godey's Ladies Book. I really like that jacket. And also, is that a smoking cap? It looks like a smoking cap. That's more of a gentleman's fashion. Again, we don't see much gentleman's fashion in here. And then we have a shoe rosette as well. Now this is incredibly interesting and something that I have never seen before, and that is petticoat suspenders. Like what? Petticoat suspenders! How cool. How interesting. How innovative. So it looks like this suspender is attached to a band, which is then fastened around the waist and supported by the shoulder straps. Huh. Oh, and then we also have a cigar case in application. Oh, and then of course Christmas recipes, since this is the December issue. So we have some rice plum pudding, some pumpkin pie. Seems like there's a good amount of pudding. Yep, lots of puddings. Oh, well, how interesting is this page? perhaps a cigar, I can't say cigar, the cigar case would be a good Christmas gift idea. Well, I believe that we are coming to the end of the book now, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you so much for tuning in and for staying all this way. I highly appreciate it, and I really hope you enjoyed. So until next time, happy sewing and happy researching.